Hello everyone, I'm Chief Rickard from the Mount Hope Police Department, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Coffee with the Chief. And this is a monthly series we're trying to do to bring in some community members that can talk about things of interest in the community, and also give you an opportunity to send us any questions or stop by and see us. We're at Mix on Main Street in Otisville, and I have my regular crowd here, people. Thank you all for coming and listening. And we were just talking about traffic tickets, so right before, and we're really excited this month. We're actually right on time, which this is the first, so we're getting better. Usually we are a minute or two late, but we pulled this off this time. We're right on time. So the other thing is, if you're watching this live, you can send in any questions you might have on Facebook Live, and if you have any, and we'll try to get to them as well. So today I'm excited to be able to welcome as my guest the Reverend Jeff Farley from the Otisville Mount Hope Presbyterian Church, and he's going to be with us for the next half hour or so, and we're going to talk about some things that are of interest. And the first thing, welcome to you. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
And you hadn't been feeling well. You're feeling well today. You're feeling better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So why don't you introduce yourself for those that don't know you?
Okay. My name is Jeff Farley. I'm the Presbyterian pastor here in Otisville. I've been here since 1983. And really have had a great time in this community and at the church, and done some wonderful things, and this is a great opportunity to talk about some of that.
Great. What brought you here in 1983? What brought you to this church?
Actually, I just graduated from seminary, and in the Presbyterian tradition you have to shop for a church, and the church shops for pastors. And they had a little bit of information, and they said that they had 150 kids in the Sunday school, and they were using different curriculums. And I thought that was so strange, so I sent my information off, and they asked me to come and interview. And actually, I turned them down. Chuck Crogsland was the PNC chair, and I told him, no, I don't want to come. I don't think you're ready for somebody like me. And he said, ah! And I talked to some other folks, and they said, no, go for it. So I arrived here just after Sue and I got married. So we've been here 36 years.
Oh, that's amazing. And Chuck's a great guy. Everyone that probably knows lives in the community. I actually, back in probably about 30 years ago, I actually met Chuck by stopping him. We were just talking about getting stopped for speeding, and now he'll be embarrassed that I said that. But it was 30 years ago, and it wasn't very much over. But that's how I met Chuck, and it started a relationship with Chuck, and he's a great guy. And he's a great advocate for the church and the community. And that's funny that he was the one on the...
Yep, and one of the things he wanted is he wanted someone who was going to work with youth. And I had just gotten done working with a junior high youth program for 3 years in Quincy, Massachusetts. And I said, hey, I'd love to do that. And he had 2 boys that were just about ready for youth group age. So.
And one of the things, I've said this before, and I'm not a member of your church, but just observing, you have a great youth group. Mm-hmm. And when we say youth, most people think like 15 and under. You get them active into their really late teens, early 20s.
Sure.
And I know that was, I met or worked with Sarah Ketchum and the Ketchums and doing some runs and stuff. And they say they're in the youth group, but they're really young adults. So
yes,
it's a great. So what is kind of the age range that you would call your youth group?
Well, we have kids all the way, obviously, from birth up through, and then you got young adults. And usually they're out of the youth program once they get married.
Right.
But the reality is they're still there.
Yeah.
And so, there's quite a few.
I always find it interesting how you've been able to keep that community together.
There's got to be a lot of energy and a lot of laughter, and yet focused on doing the things we really believe in.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We're hitting the holiday season. We have Thanksgiving, which will be next week, which is really the kickoff of the season.
Sure.
And what are some of the things that you guys at the church provide for those in the community that are in need?
Well, next Saturday we're handing out 65 Thanksgiving baskets. And actually 40 of those have been fully subscribed by people in the community or people in the church. So the Board of Deacons who does this only really have to come up with another 25. But we're really excited because it allows us to help some folks who are really dealing with food scarcity. We also do backpacks through the elementary school here in Otisville for children who are living in families that have food scarcity issues. In school, they often get government-provided breakfast and lunch, but they don't get that on Saturday and Sunday. So what we do is we make up bags that have lunch and breakfast for these kids that they take home in their backpack. And if it's a long weekend, then we provide enough for the whole long weekend. And they'll actually get extra stuff, like for the Christmas break and the Thanksgiving break. And then we also have, this is a strange one, but it's a hospital equipment lending closet. So we managed to collect a whole bunch of wheelchairs, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, canes, and all that is available in the community as well. Because sometimes, a situation where you need it comes out of the blue. Someone gets injured, someone falls, someone has a hospitalization. They probably could get Medicare or something like that to pay for it. But we have extras. So we tell people, come on down, see what we've got, and we'll try and take care of it.
We have a great community, and we have a wide range of income levels here. So if someone wanted to subscribe to and help pay for a basket, do they have to come up with the whole amount, or can someone give, if they can only afford $5, for instance, or $10, can you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Because we have some folks who are going, our Board of Deacons go shopping for all this stuff.
Oh, great.
And we're actually partnered with the food bank of the Hudson Valley.
Okay.
So, we just bought 20 turkeys for $6 a turkey through the food bank, which really is great. And that's the other interesting thing is people could give money to the church, but they can also put it on account for our food pantry at the food bank of the Hudson Valley. So if they have some reason they're not comfortable giving it to the church, they can put it there. We use that then to buy the food that we distribute to the community. And one of the things is once you're part of the food bank, you can't really discriminate against folks. So anyone who comes and says that they're dealing with food scarcity is welcome to come. They do a short application just so we have basic information about family members and that kind of thing. And then they can get 3 bags of food every month.
Okay.
But for Thanksgiving, we do a special. It's a whole basket. It's got fresh produce. It's got pie. It's got all that stuff.
Oh, that's great. So if someone wanted to do that, I know it's getting late, but we have another week.
Oh, sure.
How could just reach out for you at the church,
Or they can just mail it.
just mail it in?
They can call the church and get
Okay.
information, or they can just mail it in P.O. Box 628.
So P.O. Box 628 in Otisville, and what's the phone number at the?
Now you're going to ask me hard questions. 386-3851.
Okay.
Yep.
And it is a great community, and I know even last night I was at the town board meeting and we were talking about there's a lending library they're working on. People are offering, to make donations right there. So that we have a very giving community.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the things I like about living here. But what are some of the things that you like about this community?
It's so funny because I grew up in Buffalo, New York, so I grew up in kind of a semi-urban area. My wife grew up in farm country outside Rochester, New York. We got here and it's small town. Small town's a whole different experience. But one of the things we've loved about this is how people here just jump in and get things done. We just, the church just sent 9 people down to New Bern, North Carolina, to rehab houses after Hurricane Florence. Because the damage is still there, and there's houses there that haven't even been touched yet. And people just came forward, not only church people, but community people said, hey, it's a great opportunity to go make a difference. So they want to jump, and I just love that. All that energy, all that excitement, the willingness to kind of put yourself out to help care for other people. So, yeah, this community is great.
And you've raised how many children here now?
I have a son and a daughter.
2, so 2. And are they still living here, or are they moved
No,
out?
actually, Brian and his wife Rachel and grandson Noah live in Albany. He works for Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services up in Albany. And my daughter works for the Justice Center. She actually is in the call center there. So, and they're out of the house.
Fine.
That's fine. They bring the grandson home. He can stay. The rest of them need to leave.
Get out. So we talked a little bit about the food pantry and some of these other products. So what are some of the other services that you offer to people that are in need?
Well, if people want to come in and talk to us, we always are searching for ways to provide for them. So in some cases, one of the things I remind people is that if you're in a situation where finances are really tough, pay your rent. I can't pay your rent.
Right.
Come and talk to me about food, because I can get you food.
Okay.
And we often tell people that are in those kind of financial situations that our food pantry, we can probably do once or twice a month, but we can find you another food pantry so that you can pick up, because we've had people come in who are habitually dealing with food scarcity. But we also we had a family recently where the wife lost her job, and then a month later the husband lost his job. They're driving a nice car and they live in a nice house, but there's no money.
Wow.
So come on in, we'll load you up with what we got. One of the nice things about the food bank of the Hudson Valley is that once you're a member of it, they often give you free stuff. We had a whole table of condiments, all kinds of strange stuff. I mean, there was pickled cactus, and all kinds of oddball things. We tell the families to come in, go over to that table and take anything you need, anything you're going to use, because we want you to have, and then there's just the relational stuff. You know, you come in, you make friends. You know, that way you can find out what's going on, and if there are additional needs that perhaps you can meet.
Now, it's certainly, other than a brief questionnaire, it's all confidential, so this is not something that someone, but if someone wasn't Presbyterian, for instance, if you were Catholic or Jewish or Lutheran, you can still come see you.
Oh, absolutely.
This is not confined just to the church.
Yeah, this is non-sectarian, and that's one of the rules for food bank. It's always been true at the church anyway. Anybody from the community that's in need, they're welcome to come. And now it's even more so because we have to abide by the rules that the food bank, because it's the Department of Agriculture or whatever it is that provides the food. But what's great about it is you're meeting all kinds of folks from the community you wouldn't necessarily meet on a Sunday morning.
Sure.
And find out what's going on. And it's funny to have people come in to get food who then network with other people who come to get food. We had a woman who said, I'm just starting. And one of the other women said, hey, let me tell you, this is some of the things you need to do. These are some of the people you need to talk to. Have you gone to the school yet and told them what your circumstances are? Talk to the social worker, because is your child getting some of the services that the school can provide? And that was really cool that they were able to talk to each other.
And you know what's interesting too is people I don't think about it, because I just got an email, and Marie, my secretary, was just pointed out to me from, I graduated my master's degree from John Jay College in New York City, and I actually got an email from them saying, hey, there's a lot of people that are students here that don't have food, they can't eat. Yeah. And people think, oh, they're in college, they have the resources. You know, there isn't people that, but it's not true. And they were soliciting for people that maybe can help out, and you forget about that sometimes. And I think, you know, I said, hey, I think I'm going to send them something, because I just never thought of it.
Right.
So.
Well, you don't understand people's circumstances. That's what I said. You've got people who are habitually hungry because maybe they have mental health issues, maybe they're learning challenged, maybe because they've always been in poverty and they don't know how to get out. Sure. And quite frankly, they're hard to employ. Right. Some of them are underemployed. Yeah. You know, they got a job, they're making $20,000 a year, but in this area, how do you pay rent and then pay for food? Wow. And then you got the ones where it's a crisis. Something's happened, somebody's died, somebody's injured, somebody's sick, or job losses. And our hope is to provide broadly for all those folks a comfortable place where they can come in and say, this is my situation, what have you got to help? And you know, if we have anything extra, you know, somebody donated a ham, somebody comes in the door, we put the ham out and say, anybody wants the ham, take it. Sure. You know, if you're going to take it home, you're going to cook it, you're going to eat it, it's yours. That's really so. It's,
you know, this country, like, we'll get into politics, but it's such an interesting dynamic. I regularly read the New York Times, and there was an article a couple months ago about middle class and what, you know, people, you'd be surprised what they consider middle class. So it's people that are making $35,000 a year, and there's people making $250,000 a year, $300,000 that consider them middle class. And I think we get into that rut where we forget there's people that are in need because we, you know, I think
we've got things covered.
Right.
But maybe they don't. Number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical debt. I just went through quadruple bypass. I'm beginning to see the bills. If my heart wasn't fixed, I'd have a heart attack. I mean, we're going to be up close to $250,000. Now, luckily, I have insurance. My wife has insurance. Most of that will get covered, but the vast majority of people, all you have to have is one medical incident, and you've gone from being comfortably middle class to desperately trying to deal with the fact that you may have to go bankrupt.
I know, it's crazy.
And if we can in any way come alongside and say, hey, come on and talk to us, tell us what's going on. You know, if you need a handicap ramp, maybe that's something that we can do. And if we can't, we have this coordinated group. So our food pantry is supported by Minnesink Rotary, Minnesink Kiwanis, Otisville Lions Club, just about every one of the Girl Scouts and Boy Scout troops in the community. Because of that, we also know that if we have something we can't do, we can call our partners and say, hey, the Kiwanis Club, what do you think about getting a ramp for these folks? And we do it back and forth. You know, they come in and they'll say, hey, Kiwanis every year does 6 baskets. So out of the 65 we're going to give away, the Kiwanis Club is going to provide 6 of those. So it's really a great community.
And I'm glad we're talking about this because I think you hit on something that's really important. Come in and talk to you, regardless of what the need is. You might be able to point them in the right direction or get it done for them. So, like, you know, we're talking about the ramp, or and it might even be someone that might just be elderly and just doesn't have that extra resource to get a ramp, but they're able to feed themselves. You know, so it's just it's a great point that, you know, if you have these.
We found a senior that, you know, their gutters are full of leaks, and now the water's starting to leak into the house. But let us know, and we'll find a group and see if we get them out there and get your gutters cleaned up, and then you know what's going to happen. They're going to look around and see 3 other things that they can fix while they're there, because that's what we do. It's part of our faith, but it's also just part of being good neighbors.
It's part of that community that we were just talking about earlier. So.
Absolutely.
Now, what are you guys looking to do, or what do you plan to do for Christmas itself?
Christmas we don't do nearly as much because the Thanksgiving baskets are huge.
Okay.
And so we just tell people if there's food needs, they can come back in December. And our food bags are a week's worth of food anyway. So just come on back and get that. We have traditionally done some other things, like one of the local schools we provide clothing and Christmas presents for a group of the children there. We help out with some of the medicine care stuff. But we don't do a coordinated program at Christmas time.
Now, I know, just for anyone that's listening, Kathleen Myers, the town clerk down at Town Hall, she helps with a tree where you can sponsor a child that's in the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
So if someone has any interest in that, that's something they can do, and I've done that in the past. And I know Father Mike over at the Catholic Church has something similar. So, and you don't have to be a member there; they'll gladly let you sponsor, let you sponsor somebody.
Same deal.
So we're getting a couple. And Medicine Cares also has a program, someone said, for Christmas presents for local kids. So there's a few things out there. And if anyone, I know we're going through this quick, you can replay it, but also call us at the police station and we can always point you in the right direction. The other thing we talked about really quick before, and I don't want to forget this because Marie will yell at me, is we're getting into the winter season and we have the warming centers. And I know you guys help out at both warming centers, Middletown and Port Jervis, you said. And
actually, we're doing, I think it's in December, we're actually have a group of us that get together. We prepare a meal for the warming station in Middletown. We actually cook all the food and then we hang out and eat the food. So we know it's good, and then it's all bundled up. And the deal with the warming station, particularly in Middletown, is that the food is delivered before the people come. For some anonymity. So that the folks who are going to the warming station will be in after we deliver the food. But we're delivering 20 and 25 meals. And we have a great time because it's great evening fellowship and good food, but also a really great sense of warmth because we know the food we're sending is excellent. And the folks who are coming into the warming station, they're in a tough spot. You know, we don't want them out sleeping on curbs or underneath, you know, whatever it is underneath a viaduct. Come on into a place that's safe, that's warm, where you can kind of lay your head down and sleep a whole night. And of course, they have to get up early in the morning. I think they have to be out by 7 a.m.
Yeah, they're out early.
So that's a great opportunity, and we do it for both warming stations.
And just if anyone does need that, in Middletown it's at St. Paul's Church, right opposite kind of the police station at 58 West Main Street. And in Port Jervis, there's one at the corner of Hudson and Main at St. Peter's Church, and that's 31 West Main Street. And we'll try to put something as we get colder on our Facebook page about those as well. I know we don't use you much, but you're also our chaplain, one of our chaplains, you and Father Mike. So, you know, you help out with us as well, and we thank you for that. What are the things that come easy to you in your job?
People. I like people. It really helps.
Important, I guess.
Well, I've known some clergy who really didn't like people. I love to preach, and to teach people. So, you know, in inviting people into an experience of learning about the Bible and what it happens to say, for me, is very exciting. Also working with this incredible group of leaders who are willing to take time and energy to kind of jump in and make a difference. I mean, this group that went to New Bern, they had a ball fixing this woman's house. She had 3.5 feet of water in the house. In the process of cleaning out, she had a stroke. and her daughter was trying to do it on her own, and the ministry organization, the Fuller Center, stepped in and started bringing in groups. So our group came for a week. They put hardy board on the outside of the house, which is a concrete siding. They painted and cut all the trim, did all the interior trim work, all the outside trim work. Some things had been done before they got there, and now the plumbing and electrical has to be finished. Fixtures have to be hung. But to think that 8 or 9 people would volunteer to go this long distance to care for other folks' houses. But that's the nature of this community.
Yeah, there's a sense of satisfaction when you do that. Too.
Oh, sure.
There's an inner peace. There's an inner self.
Yeah.
That's
and our groups tend to go are very funny. So they spend most of the time laughing. And the work is so much easier when everybody's having a ball.
Yeah,
and that tends to be, in the church, tends to be the pattern. Everybody's having a great time and enjoying each other's company.
What are some of the things you find hard, difficult?
Actually, oddly enough, one of the things I like and I seem to do fairly well is funerals. One of the things that drives me nuts is weddings. I think weddings are wonderful, but they're so complicated. And there's so much emotion, but it's not emotion that you can really do anything about. It's really something that needs to be done, but sometimes it's rather challenging.
Gotcha.
And sometimes dealing with difficult people. Even in the best of organizations, you often have a few folks that are just disgruntled, and you want to try and help them, and you want to make them comfortable, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And that can be really, really stressful, because you really want it all to come out perfect in the end, and when it doesn't, you got to tell somebody they no longer can be a volunteer. And you go home and you got some sleepless nights, and that's the hardest part of my job. I really love what I do.
So what do you do to de-stress or take care of yourself? You just talked about the stress.
Yeah,
what do you do?
Having had quadruple bypass, maybe I'm not doing very well at that. One of the things I love is I'm in a brass quintet. Unfortunately, we're not playing right now because obviously I'm out. But every Monday night we rehearse at the church. 5 guys who play different instruments, just love playing John Goldsmith, Tom Stickney, Joe Karpinski, and Ken DeLue. And we just get together, we put together a program, and then about 3 or 4 times a year we go out and play in the community, and we play for free. So we'll go to the nursing homes, we've been to, the Goshen Secure, not Goshen Secure, but the one Mid-Hudson St. Patrick Center.
Sure.
That was one of the best experiences of my life. They let us in. I didn't know if they were going to let us out. And the audience was wonderful. They were absolutely, they're the best of the best. They're not going to let anybody else come hear us. But it was so fun to play a real diverse musical program, and to see them just having a great time following along with us. We went home feeling really good about that. And we do that, I think, we try to do 4 times a year. We had a whole Christmas program we were all ready to come with, and then of course I went through this.
That's great. You kind of get lost in the music, and that's a great way to de-stress.
The other thing that I do is my son's mother-in-law has a house on Loon Lake up in the Adirondacks, and I love to kayak.
Oh, okay.
And especially up there because they have these islands in the lake, and you can go out there, and the biodiversity is just incredible. You go out there and see 100 different kinds of dragonflies. For me, just hopping the kayak in the water, jumping in, and disappearing for a couple of hours is just amazing. And then take a few photos.
Right, pure relaxation.
Sometimes just sit there and just let the kayak kind of bob in the water and see what floats underneath.
As the sergeant and Marie and people say, look, I have a hard time sometimes relaxing. I'm always like, go, 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 go. So the few times I do get to that point of calm is refreshing.
Absolutely.
What? So if you had a superpower, what would it be?
That was a funny question. I looked at that. My wife has always said if she ever got a spiritual gift, which is part of the New Testament tradition, she wanted the gift of discernment.
Okay.
She wanted to be able to tell the difference between people and whether they're telling the story. And I don't know that that's a superpower, but I think that would be a really interesting ability to have.
Gotcha.
When you meet somebody, knowing whether they're really authentic.
Right.
Being able to sense when they're telling you a story, whether they're telling you all of it. Because most people will come in and see me and they'll tell me the presenting story.
Sure. So backstory.
And then there's all the rest of the stuff you need to know.
Right.
And being able to tell up front what really they need, and then what we can offer. that might provide some comfort or help or de-stressing or whatever. I think that would be really cool.
That is kind of cool. Because it's true, that's a struggle we all have.
Oh, yeah.
Now, going just off topic a little bit, traditionally, how long would someone in your position stay at the church? Do you just stay there forever?
Well,
or do you stay there,
yeah.
you retire and go live on the Adirondacks?
In the Adirondacks.
What is the tradition there? I know in the Catholic Church at some point they retire and they
Right.
live as a group of priests somewhere.
Yes.
But what is it in the Presbyterian Church?
Presbyterian ministers contract with the church and with what's called a presbytery. It's kind of like a corporate bishop.
Okay.
And you can continue to do that up to age 70.
So,
You can retire at any point you want to and start collecting retirement because the Presbyterian Church has a really robust retirement system.
Okay.
But typical retirement age is 65.
Okay.
But because, quite frankly, even though there's stress, there's no physical stress.
Sure.
Many of us can continue working up to a later age. And, I basically decided I'm going to keep working until one of us, our health deteriorates, the kids need us to move closer, or something like that, or I begin to believe I'm not doing a good job. As soon as I see that I'm not making the kind of impact that I want, or the leadership board says to me, we're at the point where we need to move on.
Gotcha.
We'll have that conversation, and I'm not afraid of that, because
You're not going anywhere, because you are
Yeah.
making that connection. You are a valuable and a helpful
Yeah.
member of the community, so I don't see that happening.
now, but things can change.
Yeah.
And so, I'm open at this point to say when that change comes, we'll do what we need to
Do you ever get to the point where you just get to, like, I can't listen to these stories anymore, I need, that battery charge, or I need to just get away for a week or something? Do you get to that point?
Oh, sure.
And how do you overcome that? Because that would be, sometimes I get that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
One of the things that's nice about my job is there's no hours.
Sure.
So I basically can make my own. I have other staff people, I got to be able to connect with them. But, if I get a really stressful time and people are just driving me nuts, and that happens a lot, I can just say, okay, this afternoon, I'm going to go do something else. I can go to the gym, and go to Planet Fitness, and get on one of the machines and spend some time there. Or I go out in the backyard, or I can go out and take my kayak.
Sure.
And also there's some key people that I can call on the phone and say, hey, I just had a really rough conversation. Can I talk this through with you? And people are really good about that. And that can be really helpful. And I also have family. And my family has lived through this. Both my kids lived in the vans with people coming to the door asking for food. So if I say I've had a particularly rough time, both my children will listen and we can talk. And my wife as well. She just retired from Minnesota Valley. So she's around and I can say, hey, Sue, this has just been nuts. So let's talk. Yep, that's interesting.
So, just lastly, we're getting ready. We have the holiday season starts. What is your favorite holiday?
Oh, that's
And
a
why?
tough one. Yeah. I think honestly still Christmas. I love the story of Christmas, the simplicity of the story, the essential story, not all the stuff that's around on.
Right.
And I think the other thing that's really cool is family. Having a grandson, 16 months old, looking at all this stuff through his eyes is just kind of a real thrill. Plus, the kids get so excited, the families get so excited.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I would say that's my favorite holiday too, just for the excitement. And the kids never seem to get old. Mine are 14 and 12, and they still get that excitement in the house that it's hard to tamp it down. You know what I'm talking about. So, well, thank you very much for coming.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And if anybody has anything that they think of that might benefit, then they should give you a call.
They can call, they can email, they can Facebook, it's all there.
Just knock on the door. Just not your door, the back door of the church. So I want to thank Reverend Farley for stopping by today. Just quick, next month, for December, we're going to be talking about criminal justice reform changes. There's some big changes that are coming up January 1st. And Darlene De Jesus Rosenwasser from the Orange County DA's office is going to be joining us. And we'll be giving more information out on that as we get closer. That'll be the third Tuesday. And I was asked if we could mix the location up, so we'll be unveiling a new location for next month. And we're not abandoning Mix, we'll be back. So I think we're going to do a rotational kind of location just so everyone feels included. But thanks for joining us. Thank you for being with us. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, you can always call me at 386-8886 or email me at chief@mounthopepolice.com. Thanks.